Today on Larry King Now, person of interest, Michael Emerson, on playing the greatest villain in television history.
I think people who watched that series would say that they were terrified by him when they first met him.
Because?
Because it had been cleverly written. The build-up to the... We thought maybe he was an innocent balloon pilot who just landed on this island, and the thing we feared and couldn't even voice was, what if he's one of them? Because it was known that the island contained these bad people, the others, they called them. And it turned out that he was.
On person of interest being a little too real.
In a way, we are reflective now of real contemporary concerns and less a make-believe show. Without us actually changing anything. It's more like the world caught up to the show.
Plus, something your fans would be surprised to learn about you.
That I find shopping relaxing.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. We're at the Trump International Hotel and Tower at Columbus Circle. A great pleasure to welcome Michael Emerson, the Emmy Award-winning actor for his portrayal of Benjamin Linus on Lost, called one of the greatest villains in television history, according to Variety. He's currently in his fourth year as tech billionaire Finch on the CBS hit show Person of Interest. It airs Tuesdays at 10 p.m. What, for people who haven't seen it, basically tell us what person of interest is, because it doesn't just deal with a villain, right?
No, person of interest is a kind of a vigilante thriller for the surveillance age. I play a character who's built a kind of an all-seeing artificial intelligence that he uses to predict violent crime and intervene before it can happen. But that was the sort of original premise, and it's gone a lot of places since then.
Where is it now?
It's now, in this season 4, we now have our machine, our artificial intelligence, is at war with an even more powerful one that is run by shady characters who have a relationship with the United States government. So everything's very dangerous, and all the characters on the show who have always been in danger, it's been in effect a suicide mission for 4 years, but now they're in even worse shape because they have to live off the grid. They cannot have bank accounts. They can't use credit cards or anything because the enemy artificial intelligence will use that to seek them out and kill them.
Why is it successful?
Well, Jonah Nolan, the creator of the show, would say because it's all characters. You know, people have to be engaged. They want to come back and see what these guys are doing. But I think beyond that, I think people like the idea of not vigilantism, but some guys willing to step outside the law to right a wrong. You know, that's a common theme.
Yeah, it goes back to that old movie, the guy used to kill villains.
Right, right. So we do a bit of that, and we also have the attraction of this sort of high-tech secret world that we live in, which seemed, perhaps at the beginning of the series, to be fictional or a science fiction scenario. But now, over the years we've been airing, recent events have proved us to be, well, not fictional. I mean, when we see, you know, when there's talk about the surveillance from the NSA and these various programs.
We're creating a paranoid world, aren't we? I mean,
well, like my character says, that it's only paranoia if they're not really after you. But I think we all have reason to worry. The longer I do the show I'm on, Person of Interest, the more I'm concerned, the more I'm worried about our rush to develop electronic systems, that it may, we may outrun our own ethics or our own safety in the process.
And you're not going to be able to stop it, right? If someone's working on a machine right now,
sure,
that machine will be made.
That's right, yes, right? I think so.
So people they don't talk anymore, right?
Well, it changes a lot of things. culturally, it changes a lot of things. And yes, we will one day reach, what do they call it, the synchronicity, where there is something smarter than us on the planet, and it may be closer than we think.
Your showrunners were on our show, Jonathan Nolan and Greg Pligerman. They were terrific. They said the show has become an extension of real life. You agree?
Yes, I think so. In a way, we are reflective now of real contemporary concerns and less a make-believe show. Without us actually changing anything. It's more like the world caught up to the show. So now I think it presents a problem for the writers. How do we ride that wave? How do we stay out in front of real life events which are somehow stranger and more fantastic than what they can write for a fictional TV show?
You like shooting in New York?
I do. It's one of the chief attractions of the project. When I saw that it had that sort of noir element to it, that it took place in the dark corners of this teeming city, I just thought, oh, that sounds right. That's a kind of graphic novel kind of setting that appealed to me.
So the city's part of the show.
Big part. The city is a big character in the show, and we go out of our way to make sure that people see the city. We shoot on location, I think, more than any other show on television.
Has this weather affected you?
Well, yeah, it'll get your attention. I mean, because
affected shooting.
The writers, I think, try to keep us indoors a little bit more in January and February, but sometimes they can't. So we find ourselves on, windy street corners and the tops of skyscrapers in 10-degree weather, and it's tricky.
Any surprises coming in season 4?
Oh, I would think so. I mean, I'm not a person that, we don't have that kind of show where I see scripts in advance. I only know what we're shooting this week, but they have never failed us with a season-ending thriller. So I'm sure something big is coming, and I'm sure it has to do with the standoff between these two powerful artificial intelligences.
Here's a clip from Person of Interest.
Finch, that shift she's covering for Trey, he works in a dispensary.
Medical marijuana? Do what you love, you never work a day in your life. State regulations require a dispensary card for every patient.
How fast can you get me into the database?
Let's see. Detective Riley suffers PTSD from multiple gunshot wounds and, let's say, chronic back pain. Back pain is better. I'll have Dr. Tillman call it in. It won't take long.
Well, that was easy. Finch, how do you know so much about getting marijuana?
Mr. Reese, you want me to call this in or not?
Michael Emerson's our guest, terrific actor. He stars now in Person of Interest. He was, of course, famous on Lost, and we'll talk about that after this. We're back with Michael Emerson, one of the stars of Person of Interest. Your last role was Lost in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a little more fun for you?
Well, I mean,
I know you love New York, but Hawaii.
Well, the weather was agreeable, and the landscape is stunning. I mean, there are days when you're shooting out in the jungle or on the beaches or mountains in Hawaii, you say, what are we doing? Why are we even trying to do anything here except put down these cameras and just look around us? It's so fabulous. Having said that, I did feel a little bit like my character. I played a man who was lost or stranded on a desert island, and I too was far from home, sort of friendless, and living a kind of adventure that was fantastical. So it was hard to tell which part of that experience was mine and which part was the character that I played.
But the character, he wasn't always known as a villain, right? I mean, you didn't.
He was. I mean, he was. I think people who watched that series would say that they were terrified by him when they first met him.
Because?
Because it had been cleverly written. The build-up to we thought maybe he was an innocent balloon pilot who just landed on this island, and the thing we feared and couldn't even voice was, what if he's one of them? Because it was known that the island contained these bad people, the others, they called them, and it turned out that he was one of them, and a dangerous character. And
how'd you get
smart.
the part?
I got the part, I think, well, in the long run, I got it because of the work I had done on The Practice, where I played a serial killer who was mild-mannered and smooth. And I think that...
I love The Practice.
I think it was a good show. I think the creators of Lost thought we need to put a face and a voice to this threat, this ominous threat that's out in the jungle. So I think they offered me a guest spot to do 3 episodes. And I think it was by way of a kind of audition, so that they would bring me in, shoot some stuff, and see how it played. And if I hadn't played well, or if the character hadn't worked, they could have easily killed me off and moved on to plan B. But as it was, I think it worked out all right. And it is every character actor's dream to come in on a guest spot, to get this supporting role, and to make yourself irreplaceable.
Why did Lost work?
Well, for a whole bunch of reasons. I think, again, good writing and good characters, which is basic.
Got to be on the page, right?
But yes, but I think the exotic setting, the fantasy quality of it, the international cast, and then I think as the writers began to explore beneath the surface of what they had created in season 1, when the thing began to be a little more esoteric or philosophical or mathematical, then, and it began to play with time travel and flashbacks, flash forwards, flash sideways. I think it became a puzzle, a really interesting puzzle that got people hooked.
Strange ending?
A good ending for my money, but I know I may be in the minority. People stop me on the street and say, I love that show, but what the heck was the ending? And I say, if I had 10 minutes, I could tell you why it is a mighty ending.
It's involved to explain?
Yes. Yes, but not that involved. It's just, I can do it diagrammatically. Most television narratives go in a straight line from where it started to where it ends. Lost, which was a little more complicated, was as if it were something that was exploding outward from a center point. So the writers had the challenge of returning the series to its center point, to come back around to the beginning. But it was a lot of loose ends flying in all directions, so it was tricky. But I was proud of the ending because it didn't turn out to rely on a conceit like, oh, this was all dreamt by someone, or this was just purgatory. Yes, it was all of those things too, but I thought they ended on a spiritual note, which I thought was really satisfying.
What is the genius, if it can be called that, of J.J. Abrams?
I mean, good humor and good taste. He's a lovable guy, a lot of fun. He always seemed, I mean, when you're around him, you think, well, he can't possibly be a Hollywood titan the way that he is, because he's so pleasant and curious about things. Maybe that's it. He has a great curiosity. And he knows how to handle mystery, which I think is one of the most important elements of storytelling. He knows how to give the audience enough to keep them with you, but not give it all away too early. It's always better. Lost had so many great mysteries in it, and he made sure that every time something was revealed or solved, it opened 2 new doors that were equally dark and dangerous.
There's a term that fits you, and I wonder if it makes you proud. Some actors have told me that I'm proud. Character actor.
Yes. Glad to be one.
Not the lead, not the leading man.
I wouldn't know how to be a leading man. Oh, it just seems like that would make me sleepless, that idea of, oh, I have to be good and forthright and play in earnest all the time. It's so much better to be the villain.
Because Are you mostly cast as a villain?
Well, or people of ambiguous ethics, I suppose.
Yes.
But that's great, that's great. Because immediately people go, what's going on here? And they lean closer to the TV screen. Yeah.
More with Michael Emerson after this. We're back with Michael Emerson. It's in his 4th year now of playing Finch on Person of Interest. How long you signed for?
Standard television contract is a 6-year contract. But,
you were a carpenter?
Well, I did a little of everything when I was a starving actor without prospects in
You were a magazine illustrator?
I was for years. That was the first time I lived in New York.
What magazine?
I was one of those freelance fellows that you used to see in the 70s and 80s wandering around Midtown with big black portfolios. So I was peddling myself to whoever would have me, you know, various...
So you've drawn for who?
Oh, Business Week, the New York Times, all of the Dow Jones publications.
You always want to be an actor, though?
I guess I did. It's what I studied as an undergrad, and I have a degree in that. And when I came to New York from small town Iowa, I had 1976. It was a rougher town than I ever dreamt, and it kind of knocked the wind out of me, and I didn't even know how to begin, to tell you the truth. So by the time I got a job and got a roof over my head, you know, I had just lost track of it, and that dream seemed unrealistic, or I don't know what. You know, it's a bad deal to let go of your dreams.
So you were in your 40s when you made it, huh?
I was. I never really made a living as an actor until I was in my 40s.
And that was the practice?
Practice was my first break. Yes, I had a good part, a good part that I can't even really tell you how I got it. Well, I think the producers of the show had seen me do a play at the Taper in L.A. And the connective tissue between one job and another is sometimes very thin and roundabout, but never despair, because people will remember something.
And that led to Lost, right?
Yes, I think so, indirectly. There were a lot of years in between when I continued to do Shakespeare and, you know, regional theater.
Is Shakespeare still fun?
Yes, I love it. It's the best thing.
You like doing plays?
I do, particularly plays of language.
Now we're going to play a little game of If You Only Knew. Okay, I just throw some questions at you.
Oh my God!
Who was the first girl you kissed, Michael?
I think her name was Betty Jo Heingardner, and she went to school with me.
Betty Jo Heingardner.
Yeah.
In Iowa?
Yes.
What city?
I grew up in Toledo, Iowa, a very small town.
Toledo's in Ohio.
Right, but there's a couple of other ones, much smaller, of course. And
what university did you go to?
I went to Drake University for my undergrad. That's in Des Moines.
Famous? Oh, I know. Superpower you'd like to have?
Oh, I think because I'm Snoopy by nature, I wouldn't mind being able to be invisible occasionally.
Me too. I'd like to be invisible a lot. Would you rather catch a touchdown pass or hit a home run?
I think hit a home run.
A character on Lost you'd have liked to have played?
Mr. Echo.
Craziest thing you've learned from playing Finch?
Well, the craziest thing is the scariest thing, and that is you at all times now have a device on your person by which you can be listened to and tracked.
Do fans ever see you on the street and treat you as the character you play?
Yes, I think so. I think in a way they know the difference, but it's good fun to play along. It puts them in the show in a way.
What actor was most similar to their Lost character?
To their Lost character? Oh, my goodness. Oh,
Not you.
John Locke, I would say. Terry O'Quinn.
Something your fans would be surprised to learn about you?
That I find shopping relaxing. This is a terrible quiz.
Pet peeve?
Pet peeves. Oh, the word like?
Yes, you say like a lot. Or people who say like
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Or like yeah, or like yeah. You know what I hate? You know.
Yeah.
People who say you know, or like, you know I was saying. Favorite Shakespearean play?
I think I'll say Macbeth. Just I think for density, and it's so compact. It is so rich in imagery. It is so quotable. I just think it's hard to beat.
What's next for Michael Emerson?
This show kind of occupies the best part of every year. I don't really have time to do a play properly, but I look forward to that sometime.
What about a major motion picture? Have you gotten any motion picture? You're so identified with television.
Yeah. I've done some movie work, but nothing big. Honestly, that's a thing I don't know how to get. But everything in my career just comes out of left field, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that I might get a part in a movie.
Do you consider yourself lucky?
I do. I'm awfully lucky. But I would say also that when it comes, I feel like I'm prepared. I try to make sure that I'm prepared.
You know you're good, right?
Well, I have a skill set that I think can be useful in a lot of situations.
Babe Ruth said, I'd rather be lucky than good. Michael Emerson will talk about his marriage to the beautiful Carrie Preston, and we'll take some social media questions as well. We'll be right back. We're back with Michael Emerson. Person of Interest is in its 4th season. You're married to the beautiful Carrie Preston of True Blood and The Good Wife, and
yeah.
2 actors working together. How's that work?
You've
appeared together at times, right?
Yeah, we have occasionally. Not enough for my taste, but it's fun and a little disorienting to see your spouse on the set. I know people say that actors shouldn't marry one another, but my response is always, well, who are you going to run into and fall in love with exactly then? You know, because...
Where did you run into each other?
We met doing a production of Hamlet in Montgomery, Alabama.
Well,
yeah.
Have children?
No.
Want children?
No, we're happy with our little dog.
Is there any difficulty when both are in the same profession?
There can be, I suppose. We haven't had a lot of that. We're kind of scrupulous about not. We try to keep an even keel. We've both been lucky to have some success. The thing you don't want is when you come home at the end of the day, for only one person to ever have anything good to talk about. But as long as we're both kind of busy and working, then we have a balance of stories to tell and things on the horizon.
Do you often have to live apart?
We did for many years when I was a stage actor, because you would go out of town for plays and stuff, and you don't get enough days off to travel. So yeah, we did our time with separation. I remember when we first got together, we had a 6-week rule. We couldn't go more than 6 weeks without somebody going to where the other one was. That has now shrunk to about a 6-day rule.
You want to do Broadway?
Sure. I love Broadway.
We have some social media questions for you. Emily Sansom on LKN Blog. Are there any TV shows you want to guest star in? If so, and why?
Well, I don't know if this is a proper answer. I always wished that I had been something on Deadwood. I loved the scope.
That was a great show.
The scope of language in that show, from the most guttural to the most poetic, all in one show. And
Who wrote that again?
I think it's David Milch.
David Milch, yeah. I see him at the racetrack.
Yeah.
He's a confirmed racetrack.
Right, well, he knows all about that.
Yeah. Aragon88 on Twitter. How does working on a show like Person of Interest differ from a show like Lost? Like the working atmosphere?
Oh, it's probably because my role is larger and the setting is grittier. It's a little more business-like, I would say. A little less sense of, we're filming on vacation, which there was always a bit of that feeling in Hawaii that you couldn't escape. It's more of a job for me because I have a larger part and I work more days.
Was Carrie with you in Hawaii a lot?
She was able to be. She was shooting True Blood then and was staying in Los Angeles. And I would have more time off. So I would fly from Honolulu to LA, or she would fly from LA to Honolulu.
The Storybook family on Instagram. Which character is more complex or fun for you to play, Finch or Ben?
They're both pretty good. Ben was sort of my right out of the gate kind of ambiguous villain. I had a lot of fun with that, just because the narrative was so fantastic and exotic. You know, we got into more situations with guns and sharp bamboo sticks and that kind of stuff.
At Page Mike, what do you like most and least about Finch?
I like most that he is a soulful character. I like least that he has a tendency to be fussy.
Lisa Lott from LKN Blog, do you have a favorite role on stage?
Gee, you always kind of love the last thing you played. I did play once. My theater break in New York was playing the character of Oscar Wilde in Moises Kaufman's play, Gross Indecency. And I was in that for 2 years. So that will always be special to me, near and dear to my heart, because it was a wonderful character. It was a wonderful language play and a period play. And it was the beginning of my real career.
The stage is the purest form, isn't it? I mean, the curtain opens and it's your baby.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's all good. It's just you make a little adjustments between the media. But it's how I came up. It's how I learned to act. And I do like the history of it and the rituals of it. But you can make new rituals for yourself when you work in television and film.
And more pay.
Yes, there is that.
At SimK81, does Bear really only respond to Dutch?
Bear is a Belgian Malinois and does respond to commands in Dutch. We use them on the set. But like most dogs, he's multilingual, so he gets what you're saying in English as well.
And finally, from Lauren on LKN Blog, what advice do you have for young actors just starting out?
Well, I was one once. I would say, if you can stand it, be patient and be mindful that it's not a race. And try not to pay too much attention to other young people who have the world by the tail, because you don't know what your path is. I mean, I would say to them, could you stand it if you didn't make a success of it until you were 50 or more? Would that still work for you?
Accept rejection too.
Yeah. Well, you must be able to do that. I'm not saying it's easy.
Great pleasure meeting you.
Nice talking to you.
Michael Emerson, person of interest in its 4th year. Great having you with us.
It's nice to be
You can follow me on King's Things on Twitter. See you next time.